The most, Rodney. That's a guy who's gotten a lot better. I mean, obviously he's a true freshman, so he's improved a ton.
Your take on where you stand a couple days before first game?
Yeah, I mean, I think our guys are excited to play. I mean, which everybody is. So it's really hard to tell until you take the field and you're under the fire. You know, I think you play versus each other so long, you're like, oh, we're good up front. Oh, our defense is going to create pass rush. Oh, we're good at wideout, or we're good at running back, or we're good at. You play yourself every day, right? You don't know if you're good at something or bad at something, right? And that's what game days are for, is to figure out where you just average at something and bad at another area. And I'll say this, I know for a fact we're a better football team. Overall, I can say that with complete confidence. How we play under the lights, but that's what matters.
Do you have any update on which coaches will be in the box and which coordinators will be on the sideline for game day?
Yeah, both our coordinators will be in the box this year. Both our coordinators. Obviously, with the changing of the rules and the being able to communicate and watch tape, being able to have that calmness in a box to sit there and watch essentially game film live. If there's a 30-second timeout, and being able to go watch the last play, because everything gets within 7 to 9 seconds, you get the play up there. I definitely feel like that's an advantage if you use it correctly.
So does the quarterback have to communicate plays differently than signaling plays in a way that has a material impact?
Not really. This only really has an effect. This doesn't really have an effect for signal stealing, this quarterback communication, because you can't. What is happening over there? Because you still have to communicate to the other 10 guys. Even if you said the quarterback communicates to the O-line, the wideouts and the tight ends and running backs still got to see a signal. So unless you're a huddle team in which you could eliminate the signal process more like NFL teams, you're still going to have to signal. Whereas NFL teams who huddle a lot break out of a huddle, and then they change their words. They have to relearn what their tempo words are each week. Maybe they're 15 to 20 one-word calls or 10 one-word calls, whatever team they are, each week, and they change it so the defense doesn't pick off their word from the prior team. So you don't really do that in college. So the signals are still going to be alive until they give everybody a headset, which I don't know if that'll ever happen.
What role has DJ Foster played for guys on the field, off the field? Kind of just how have you seen him grow?
Yeah, I mean, he's a definition of Sun Devil for life. He's a definition of Activate the Valley. And he went to school here. He broke records here. He could have gone almost anywhere in the country he wanted to go. He came here, right? He graduated from here. He had success here. I think he still has records here in terms of being a passing threat and a rushing threat, or a receiving threat and rushing threat. Then he goes and plays in the NFL, wins a Super Bowl, and then comes right back here and starts working again. I mean, he's the definition of what staying home, the value of staying home can do, and Steve Miller's another example of that as well. But his value that he provides to the guys when they, pitch a fit, I would say, or they get in their feelings, or they get in their head, he can walk over and be like, hey, I was that dude. Because that was DJ when he was 19. DJ was the dude who would have a little added, not a lot, but he had to grow up a lot, and he did. So to be a guy who was that, he really understands how to relate to that. And he can just go over and have a conversation with him, and it's been great from an off the field perspective for those guys, just to have a guy to go and talk to.
Coach, getting ready for week one, and when I'm bringing in a new head coach, how uncomfortable does that make game prep with no film?
Well, he was their defense coordinator last year, so we have a really good clue on what they're going to do on defense. Offensively, it's very common. I think it was like 33% or 25%, one of those, of all coaches changed jobs this year, which is absurd along college football. Hopefully, but I was part of that cycle too, so I can't really hate on that cycle because I was one of those people at one time. But that just means week ones are going to be a pain in the butt until that norm changes. And so offensively, we're kind of watching this and watching that and trying to put together what they would do if it's combined and taking some guesses on what they're going to do. So, and then defensively, I know they're going to blitz more. I mean, you just look at their success rate. They were 15 out of 19 on wins on 3rd and 5 or plus. They only blitzed 19 times on third downs last year. They won 15 times, which means anybody who self-scouts themselves and say we were over 100th, one of the worst teams in the country on third down last year, but we were elite, or we were a 75, 80% win rate when we blitzed, what are you going to do? You're going to blitz. How they're going to blitz, I don't know. right? I don't know. But I know that they're going to have a plan to bring a lot more pressure than they did last year on third downs, and we got to have a plan to combat that pressure.
There's not a ton of tape out on Evans Svoboda, but in terms of the quarterback, what jumps out to you watching?
Yeah, I mean, he has a really strong arm, and then he's big. So, I mean, you got to be alert for quarterback runs. I mean, you saw him hop in the game versus in the bowl game versus Toledo, and they're running quarterback duo follow, right, or whatever you want to call it, inside zone follow with the running back leading up on the corner with him because he's a big physical back on third and short. So you got to anticipate that they're going to run him directly, being 240 pounds. And anytime you have a quarterback that's going to run direct runs, not zone reads, direct runs, where he's just a running back, he's a +1 in the hat count, you got to account for that. So we got to be prepared for that. And then his ability to throw the ball, when he's clean in the pocket, he throws the ball really, really well, and you can see it in both those games. And he's a big dude, so we got to get him uncomfortable, and we got to be prepared for him to have direct runs in the plan.
Guys, good. You got a lot of. Go ahead, one more question.
The Pat Tillman Leadership Council has several second-year guys, younger guys, as part of that sort of leadership group. What stood out to you when you found out the results of that in terms of the makeup of that?
Yeah, well, we make them vote for 2 young guys. So we always put 2 young guys on that council. That way they can learn and grow and hopefully become better leaders, right? And then that council is 100% team voted. I mean, and I get it. Sometimes it's a popularity contest. My favorite kid I'm going to vote for, right? Sometimes it's the kid who works the hardest. But at the same token, even the popular kid that has a long way to go has an impact on our football team. And if we can motivate that guy to do things right, by being on the council, and we can give that kid a voice and we can get more out of him, he's going to be able to reach more people because he is liked. So what it showed me was kind of who the guys are that our guys look at, who are the guys that I need to spend time impacting. And that's the biggest thing for me is I don't have a position group, but I can impact the leadership council. I can meet with that group. That is my position group to teach them how to get our football team to practice, why we do things, the method behind some of the madness, and then we give them ownership of kind of how we operate a little bit.
Appreciate it. Thank you.